What is up, guys? NinjaNick333. We are back with another round of the Japan Championships. This should be the top 4 match that they are streaming here. Looks like it is a Mew deck versus the start of a Spiritomb. We have not seen a Mew versus Spiritomb yet on this, and it looks like my quality just dropped, so let's fix that. There we go. But I'm going to say this at the beginning of the video this time. Do not forget to do those things that I put right here friendly on the screen. The comment, like, and subscribe and stuff. The like button. Not a lot of people hit the like button. That really helps these videos show up in other people's home feeds. So if you are enjoying it, do try to hit that like button. I've been trying to do it myself when I'm watching other people on YouTube, just because I am finally realizing exactly how important it is. I have been seeing the change to my homepage because of it, for the better, in all honesty. So not only will it help my pages, my videos show up in other people's feeds, if the content seems like it would be a good fit for them, but it might also show other people's content that is similar to mine if you're showing YouTube that you like this type of content. So works both ways there. So we do get the Feather Ball for the Mew to put onto the bench. Unfortunately, it looks like we do not have any Battle VIP passes. That is usually what you really want to see here, and I'm not sure what Mew can really do to a start of Spiritomb. Even puts the Fusion Strike energy to the Genesect. If we are just powering up the Genesect to take the knockout, honestly, I do think that that is the exact correct play. It feels really incorrect, but it is correct. I think he's more than likely going to be able to get to the energy he needs onto the Genesect, and then just be able to knock out the Spiritomb by the time Gardevoir gets set up. And if he doesn't, he probably just loses anyway. So the Gardevoir is Dark Weak, not Metal Weak, very unfortunately. So you can't be able to take 2 prize cards with the Genesect, and it can only attack every other turn because, of course, his attack is Techno Blast. And you can't reset it as easily because it does not have free retreat like the Mew. Of course, you could always switch card into the Mew and then retreat back into it, and you could attack 2 times in a row with it. So I like to see the use of the Genesect as the attacker, especially, again, since you do have that Spiritomb in the active. You want to be able to knock that out as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're really not going to have much of a game plan as the Mew deck. Although, if your opponent did not start Mew, you did not really have that hot of a hand anyway, so I'm not sure if this turn would have been that much different. I think if your opponent was not playing the Spiritomb, maybe you would have just attached to the Mew instead. But Double Turbo is a little bit better on the Mew, and you could always actually use the Genesect as an attacker, so again, bit of an interesting decision, but of course, this is a Gardevoir deck on the left. If you guys have not figured that out already, we do retreat the Spiritomb into the Mew in order to use the Mysterious Tail, find a level ball, and we're going to use that level ball to get a Ralts. Hopefully, we find ourselves a Battle VIP pass this turn, so we can get a couple more Ralts into play, because the more Ralts we get into play, that means the more Curlias we can get into play, which means the more drawing we can do, and that we can also get into our Gardevoir and Gardevoir EX after that. So, unfortunately, just got the 1 Mew, but again, the Spiritomb is slowing Mew down so much that we can take our sweet time setting up our Gardevoirs. So looks like we are going to use a Lost Vacuum, getting rid of the Path to the Peak in our hand, as well as the Choice Belt. I do agree with the Choice Belt, but I do not agree with the Path to the Peak. I think you need to keep that. You're just hoping that you draw into your own Judge or Iono. But just thinning as much as possible. Oh, and since... Oh, does it only work when it's active? I thought the Spiritomb worked at all times. Am I that dumb? It says basic Pokemon V in play both yours and your opponents have no abilities. So what's shutting off the Spiritomb to allow you the use of the Genesect's ability. Oh, the Fusion Strike energy. Oh, big brain. That's why so many people are playing the Fusion Strike build. I get it now. So he's able to use one Genesect ability every turn because of the... See, normally the only abilities that would affect a Pokemon like that would be the... would be something along the lines of, say, Mew VMAX's ability, where it puts damage counters down, but I forget that the Fusion Strike energy does block the effect of the Spiritomb as well. That is fantastic. I can't believe I only just found that out now. I'm glad I found that out before NAIC. So, still, the second Genesect cannot use their ability until it itself gets the Fusion Strike energy. So if we do see an Elisa Sparkle at some point, we could actually see multiple Genesects being able to use their abilities around the Spiritomb. And it honestly seems like Spiritomb is not as good of a card as I thought. But again, you could always play Spiritomb in Mew, and you can stop it from affecting your own Pokemon by attaching your own Fusion Strike energies to your Genesects. And that is an extremely cool interaction. So no matter what they do to try to stop Mew, Mew says, no, I will not be stopped. I am too powerful. So yeah, maybe if you are going to NAIC, you should be playing Fusion Strike. Because the Fusion Strike version over the Double Turbo version, it stops Spiritomb. And Spiritomb might just be... It might just be a card that people play. With how much Mew runs around, I wouldn't expect anything different. People have already been converting to the Fusion Strike build before Spiritomb even becomes legal. And we even get the Path to the Peak to shut off the opponent's Greninja and Gardevoir EX as well. So now all of a sudden this matchup went from extremely favored for Gardevoir to not so much. Since that Collapse Stadium was in play, the Kirlia on the previous turn was only able to use Mirage Step to get one other Kirlia out. Still decent, but not quite good enough. Now that it's not in play, you could always leave this Kirlia active and use the attack a second time to get one more Kirlia out. It feels a little bit counterintuitive, but what else are you going to do? You don't have any Ralts in play to evolve this turn. I think that it would be correct to just go for another one of those. But it looks like instead we are going to go for the Shining Arcana Gardevoir. We are going to try to race the opponent and hope that we are able to take some knockouts before they are. So we are at 150 damage output right now. We just need a Gardevoir EX and the stadium replaced. We cannot use the concealed cards because of the Path to the Peak, and we won't be able to use Gardevoir EX either. So what exactly are we going to be able to do here? Just hope that our opponent doesn't get a double turbo or a switch card to retreat. Looks like they are holding onto a Forest Seal Stone that they have in hand. They would be able to use a V-Star power for the turn in order to find any piece that they are missing, whether that be the switch card to go into the Mew V, the Mew VMAX to evolve. But it looks like this Mew will be able to take a knockout on this next turn. So at the very least, you're going to want to be able to knock out this Genesect. So we do get another Ralts into play here. Do we have any sort of way to get to the Gardevoir EX and the Stadium? I know we have an Iono in hand. I don't believe we played a supporter yet. So we could always Iono the opponent's hand to the bottom of the deck, as long as we have not used a supporter yet. But again, I don't believe that he has. So benches that Ralts officially. And just hits for 150. Oh, that doesn't feel good. Does not feel good whatsoever. Alright, yep. So Mew has the double turbo to retreat. And a Forest Seal Stone to get the V-Star. And again, the Spiritomb should not be shutting off the ability of the Forest Seal Stone because it is a tool card, not a Pokemon ability. So we should be able to use that Forest Seal Stone to grab ourselves the Mew VMAX, should we not have any other way to get there. Looks like we are going to fail the first nest ball to thin it out of our hand, and then use the second nest ball to actually get a Pokemon into play. And it's just actually mind-boggling to me right now that Mew can just play completely around the Spiritomb and not care about it whatsoever. It does hurt the consistency of Mew quite a bit, though. Yeah, it's making me think that Drapion is just much better of an option than the Spiritomb. And we do take the knockout. We do copy that Techno Blast. We were able to get to our Mew VMAX because of that Forest Seal Stone, and now we take the knockout on the Gardevoir that had all of the energy in play. Now we only have one Kirlia to work with here. We're going to have to find ourselves a second Kirlia, and we do get the Gardevoir EX, but we still need the replacement stadium to even attempt to attack with anything this turn. Again, if you were to have the replacement stadium and a Drapion here, that would actually deal a pretty big blow to the Mew. You would be able to go to the prize lead by having taken 3 prize cards, and then all that you need to do is knock out another Mew VMAX with a Zacian later in the game and be able to win that way. And that Spiritomb would certainly give you the time because, again, there is only one Fusion Strike energy on one Genesect, so only one Genesect can still be using their abilities. We are going to replace the Path to Peak with the Temple of Sinnoh. We are now going to be able to use our Radiant Greninja's concealed cards as well as our our Psychic Embrace on our Gardevoir EX. We do find ourselves a rare candy, but we already evolved our Ralts this turn, so we're not going to be seeing another Kirlia. We are, though, going to be able to use our Mew to find ourselves an Ultra Ball, which we could play this turn to find that next Ralts. We do have a Battle VIP Pass in hand we can discard, as well as another energy. Seems like a very sensible decision, but we are instead going to go for the Cresselia. Are we going to be able to knock out the Genesect with the Fusion Strike energy this turn? The good thing with that is that the Mew VMAX that attacked with Technoblast will still stay in the active with this play. And that is a very fantastic way to do this turn. I like to see this kind of play. So we're going to heal 40 off of our own board, put that onto the Genesect with the effect of that attack, and we are going to be able to take 2 prize cards. So fantastic, our entire board is healed. We do have a Gardevoir EX in play, along with one more Kirlia still. And we are pretty set up. It just feels a little bit clogged having so many just bench sitters that are not Gardevoir lines in play. Again, we have 4 Pokemon that are not Gardevoir in play. So I feel like we are just as slowed down as the Mew at this point. Normally you want to have multiple Kirlia in play to have multiple refinements every turn. Even if you are to evolve the Kirlia that's left, you'll have still just a draw 2 from the Shining Arcana it would turn into. So we do get Iono'd, the Mew plays that, so we're going to go to 4 cards in hand for the player on the left with the Gardevoir, and 5 cards in hand for this player on the right. We do get a Feather Ball, which could be used to search the deck for another Mew VMAX, or another Mew V to put onto the bench to draw more with Genesect, but we do need ourselves a... we still need a double turbo for our next Mew VMAX if we want to attack with that, and we would need a Fusion Strike energy or an Elisa's Sparkle preferably if we were to want to use a Genesect ability. But again, we just used the Iono, so we're not going to be able to use an Elisa's Sparkle this turn. So just retreats into the Mew V and passes, and this will be a very easy one-shot for Gardevoir EX. But do we want to risk attacking with the Gardevoir EX right now when we could be attacking with something else? I would be really hoping to dig for a Shining Arcana Gardevoir right here. And I think with the Spiritomb, it does seem like that is the edge that Gardevoir needs in order to make the Mew matchup a lot more in its own favor. We even refinement into that Shining Arcana Gardevoir, we will be able to use its ability this turn. Plus, we should have enough energies in the discard pile to be able to use Brainwave to take the knockout. and go down to 2 prize cards remaining, then we are 1 boss's orders on a Genesect away from being able to finish the game off. We would be able to take that knockout with the Gardevoir EX even, so we would not even have to dig for another Pokemon to attack with. Even though we did draw the Zacian this turn off of that Shining Arcana as well, or the Refinement as well. I think he might have dropped one of his energies. He's playing right on the edge of the table here with all of his energy cards. The judge did fix that, does pick that up for him. Very thankful for judges in that regard. So he is going to go for the Shining Arcana. It should be fine to do right now. Oh, it looks like maybe they're giving a time extension for picking up that card. Yep, so just reround that for a second while that judge got his headset back on. They're probably fixing the timer a little bit. I like to see the way that they do that. They don't do anything like that in the American streams. So we do accelerate that energy into play. We have 80 damage counters on there after accelerating 4 energies to the Gardevoir, and now we will be able to Brainwave for the knockout on the Mew V, taking 2 prize cards, and we are more than likely going to be winning this game 1. In order for the Mew VMAX to be able to win, they would need a Path to the Peak this turn, as well as knocking out this Gardevoir, and then on the next turn, hopefully a knockout of the Gardevoir EX to leave the opponent with no Gardevoirs in play, which would require multiple Power Tablets, or multiple Fusion Strike energies in play, along with a Cleansing Gloves, which I'm not even sure if they play at this time. So we will have to see. It looks like we do go for the Iono. Yep, that's still on the board. I was looking at the discard pile to see if he played that, but he put it in on the board. So does go for that knockout. I think he did copy the Max Miracle attack, so he can still attack again on the next turn. And now, again, all that we need is a boss's orders, and we win the game. We are going to be putting Artisan into play. I don't know if I like this, because if your opponent is just to play another Path to the Peak, now you might not have the stadium to out it. It does get you another Ralts in play, and you don't really have any cards that can help you draw cards. You do have the Iono. You're going to draw 2 cards for yourself. And here's where it's getting dicey for the Gardevoir player. That Iono from the Mew ended up coming in really clutch. We see the boss's orders off of this Mysterious Tail, but unfortunately not an item card. It would be great if Mew could get any trainer card, much like the Jirachi we used to have in the tag team format. But unfortunately, this Mew does not ride a skateboard, so he is not as cool, only able to get item cards. And we are going to see the Mew attack for 30. I don't think I've ever seen Mew attack before. We used the Psychic Embrace on the Mew twice in order to get the 2 energy needed for it to use its attack. And boom, hits the other Mew for 30. The Mini Mew versus the Mega Mew there. So we are playing an Escape Rope. Is going to put that Mew back to the bench. We are going to feed them the Cresselia because that makes the most sense. That is the least useful Pokemon that we have in play. We could always use the Greninja to concealed cards to draw some extra cards if we do draw into an energy, as long as that Path to the Peak, of course, does not come back into play. The Ralts could always evolve into another Kirlia to, of course, draw more cards as well. And the Spiritomb, of course, shutting off Mew so it cannot use its Genesect abilities. So we go for the judge here from the Mew player. We do get a Power Tablet, but unfortunately not quite going to be able to get far enough with that. Not going to be able to boss his orders this turn because of playing the judge. Copies Techno Blast, and we draw the judge, boss off of the judge, and we are going to be able to go straight into game 2 with the Gardevoir player, winning a pretty convincing game 1. That was very clean. The only risky thing was when they got to the part where the judge was played. So I'm going to try to fast forward a little bit because these Japanese players have been taking their time shuffling, and they do have plenty of time to play these games. Unfortunately, they are going into game 2 with 30 minutes left on the clock. They had a very long game 1, it seems. So about half of their time remaining here. Looks like the Mew does have a mulligan. Unfortunately, just drawing into energy and trainers and not being able to find any Pokemon. And we have 3 Pokemon starting in play from this I almost said Mew. I almost said Genesect. It's Gardevoir. So normally the only reason you want to start with multiple Pokemon is if they're all the same and an escape rope wouldn't matter. You normally would play that in case you got End. Yeah, if you would get like turn 1 End and then your End out of the Pokemon, and that's why you would always bench a bunch of Pokemon before the game starts. Now Escape Rope is a card, so if he were to play Escape Rope now, it would force you to switch into the Spiritomb or Ralts, which you would much rather have on the bench. So it would be more correct to just start the Cresselia or just start the Spiritomb, but yeah, I don't know. So I think that he should have just started the Spiritomb and just try to retreat it. The Spiritomb, being the card that is in play at the start, does stop the Genesect from, you know, being relevant. So we will hopefully see a Fusion Strike Energy, but nope, just a Double Turbo and a pass. Not going to see anything else from there. So again, we did see the Mew have this kind of start in the previous game, and they did get close to winning. If the boss's orders was not drawn off of that judge, they may have had a way to win there. So it looks like we are checking how many of our Gardevoir line are in the deck right now. That is the exact type of prize checking you want to do with Gardevoir. You don't need to know every card that's in your prizes. You don't need to identify all 6. It takes quite a lot of time, but you always want to identify the most important stuff. So if you're playing an attacker and a support Pokemon that both sit there in play, you want to be able to know what those counts are. So you need to know the Ralts, because they evolve into the Kirlia. You need to know the Kirlia, because they have Refinement and evolve into the Gardevoir. You need to know the Gardevoir, because Shining Arcana and Brainwave. And you need to know the Gardevoir EX, because of the Psychic Embrace. So always check those counts of those Pokemon. It's always good to check the energy at some point, but you don't need to do that on the first deck search. It's not that much of a concern. You usually really just need to check late in the game, because sometimes you can always just prize for energy and have a bad time. Usually on your first deck search, you can just kind of tell if it seems like there's a low amount, and then you can check on that first deck search. But you don't need to know like individual counts of like Level Ball or Fog Crystal or Battle VIP Pass, because they're just kind of like, do you get them or you don't, you know? You don't necessarily need to know exactly how many are available to you every turn of the game. Looks like we are going to go for the boss's orders. We're going to bring up the Genesect and just pass. Not that bad of a start from the Gardevoir, again, because that Spiritomb is shutting the opponent down. So we are going to use the Artisan of our opponents to search for our own basic Pokemon that does not have a roll box, but it looks like we are not... Oh, we are playing the Oricorio, so we will be able to get that out. It looks like we also have Luxray with a Reversal Energy as well, as a very interesting inclusion to have. We're going to Feather Ball for the Mew VMAX and Feather Ball for a Mew V as well. So the setup here from the Mew deck is actually not that bad. The only thing that we're really missing is the Fusion Strike Energy for the Genesect V in order to use its ability. We still have 4 cards in hand, so we would be a little short of being able to do that. We also have a switch card in hand. We could switch into the Mew VMAX and take a knockout this turn as well. We would have to copy Technoblast to do it, though. Or we could copy Oricorio and start spreading damage counters to the bench, and we could put those on the Spiritomb. That would be really interesting to see. But no, we have a Power Tablet. We're able to actually copy Psychic Leap. Psychic Leap does 70, minus 20 from the Double Turbo, plus 30 from the Power Tablet. That's actually 80, and that's a little bit more than we need to knock out that Mew. So that ends up being perfect. So Big Mew eats the little Mew this time instead of getting hit in the face with a little tiny pound or whatever the attack is. I did actually watch a video recently. I forgot the name of the YouTuber, but they did a run of, I think it was like Pokemon Red, but they only used glitch Pokemon. And they actually did, of course, the Mew glitch because they felt they had to. And they didn't use any TMs, so the Mew just used Pound the entire run until it learned Psychic at 50. And he kept putting like a little headband on the Mew. And he's like, dude, this thing hits like a truck. And that's why I named him Truck. Not because he hides under a truck. And that's all that I can think of right now is the little Mew just punching the big Mew in the face, hitting him like a truck for 30. And of course, there goes the Spiritomb. We get bossed up, we get knocked out, and the Gardevoir says, I scoop. I know that I'm not going to be able to win this game. We don't have enough time to go into Game 3 if I continue this out. So I'm going to give myself the best chance to win Game 3 by scooping early, and that is definitely the correct play here, 100%. Now we just have to find where this game starts. Skip ahead just a little bit. Make sure that my video still says it's HD. Because YouTube likes to just stop being HD at random times for me. Starts Drapion in the Mew? Oh, these Mew decks playing Drapion and Fusion Strike energies? Man, I never thought I'd see the day. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, so that Drapion is awful. That's giving this Gardevoir deck everything that it needs to be able to win this game. That's one less card you can draw off of Fusion Strike system on the Genesect V. And also, we even get the Spiritomb. Not going to even prize it one single game. Started that 2 games in a row, and then that 3rd game he didn't start it, but that's okay. He got the Battle VIP pass, still got to it anyway. Yeah, so that Drapion's being a huge liability this game by just being in play. You would have loved to see literally any other Pokemon be the start. The only Pokemon in his deck that he physically can't start is the Luxray because it is a stage 2. He's not playing Shinx or Luxio at all. He's just using it for the ability that says, if you're losing on prize cards, you can bench it. So you get to ignore the fact that it's a stage 2 and just put it down. And he does have the reversal energy. He could always Forest Seal Stone for that as well. And it does hit for 180, so if you're against something like Lugia, that card is the tech you need in order to swing the matchup in your favor. If they're still playing like the Single Strike package, they will have the Tyranitar, which will be able to hit you for weakness for like 500 plus damage with its second attack. First attack will never do enough to knock you out. Second attack sure will though. It looks like we're going to go for an immediate escape rope without having another Pokemon in play. It's odd that he would want to keep the Drapion active, but I suppose at this point, if anything gets knocked out, he'd rather have it be the Drapion. He is going to go through, identify what he has in his deck as far as energy cards are. It looks like he does have 3 Fusion Strike energies. I believe it looks like he is only playing... Or no, sorry, double turbo energies. I think I said Fusion Strike energies. Looks like he is only playing 1 Fusion Strike energy, so he's not playing Elisa Sparkle. He is literally just playing that 1 Fusion Strike energy just to get around the Spiritomb's ability. That is crazy to see. So he is still playing the double turbo only version, but he's playing reversal energy and 1 Fusion Strike energy. That's crazy to see. So he will never be able to attack with a Genesect. But since he does have the reversal energy, he could always attach that for turn to a Mew. And then on another turn, he could attach a Fusion Strike energy to that same Mew. And that still will fulfill the cross Fusion Strike's attack cost, because the reversal energy, when it's attached to the wrong Pokemon, it still counts as 1 colorless energy. It will also allow the use of Energy Mix as well by having that Fusion Strike energy. You could always attach that turn 1 to a Mew and use Energy Mix. But it looks like we do have 4 bench Pokemon, but we have the Mirage Step Kirlia. We can take our time using Mirage Step to get a free Kirlia cheated into play, skipping the Ralt stage. So So I love to see the innovation from this Mew player where he's just playing a single Fusion Strike Energy to get around Spiritomb. You would think that at that point, if you're going to include Fusion Strike Energy, you might as well include multiple along with the Meloetta and Elisa Sparkle to boost the consistency of getting it all out. Feels like it would be better into Spiritomb that way, but I suppose it is worse into everything else that way as well. So we are going to Nest Ball for our Oricorio here. That will reduce the damage we take on our Fusion Strike Pokemon. Of course, Drapion not going to be a Fusion Strike Pokemon. He is just an anti-Fusion Strike Pokemon, actually. What's the opposite of Strike? He's a Fusion Pitch Pokemon. The opposite of a Strike is a Pitch. That's what Google told me. Also Extinguish, which... I don't know, that doesn't work as well. Drapion, the Fusion Pitch Pokemon. So we got our Force Seal Stone, which we've used. We've got our Choice Belt on the Mew, which doesn't help the math at all. We've got a Fusion Strike Energy on one of our Genesects, as well as another Force Seal Stone there. So we are going to be able to use one Genesect ability every turn. So as the Gardevoir player, if you're going to boss up and knock out one of the Genesect in this game, which is the only one that's in play, to be fair, it is going to want to be that one that's the Fusion Strike Energy one. Yeah, so if he had more Genesects in play, you'd want to get rid of the Fusion Strike Energy one. But again, only one there. So this player on the right, being very courteous to his opponent, accidentally dropped a few cards while shuffling, and the opponent turned his eyes away to not have extra knowledge of his opponent's deck. That's very courteous and really not required. There isn't any penalty really for dropping some cards while you're shuffling, as long as you don't like drop them on the floor and lose them there. So we're going to keep chaining our Kirlias here. We're going to have the whole Kirlia Brigade in play. Going to keep drawing some extra cards. So we have a setup way better than we have had in the previous games. And we are going to be able to go for our knockout on the Drapion now, should we choose to do it. And I think you do. The opponent really only needs a switch card and a double turbo in order to attack. And you'd think if they used the Force Seal Stone on the previous turn, they probably have the ability to attack. So might as well just take the first two prizes of the game if your opponent does attack. They're probably only going to be taking that one anyway on your active. So, and it looks like he... Oh no, bossing up the Oricorio to leave the Drapion in play is a very interesting decision. So now you could go through a Mew VMAX and then one other V Pokemon and be able to win the game. That is still the same amount of knockouts in prize mapping. But this does now force you to have to go through a VMAX Pokemon. So we do get the double turbo onto the Mew. We will be able to use Techno Blast to this turn should we choose to use that attack. Otherwise, if we get a second Mew VMAX in play, we could always use the Max Miracle instead. It would do 110 after the double turbo reduces the 130 down by 20. We do have the second Mew VMAX in play now from that heavy ball, so we do have the ability to go for that attack. That does feel quite a bit better because now we don't have to dig for another double turbo on the next turn and keep retreating our Mews into each other. So we do go for the Max Miracle. He is fist pumping his Mew on the bench to say that he is using its attack. And now what do you do here? So again, you could always take the last prizes of the game on that Genesect with the Gardevoir EX. but you do need a big VMAX knockout here at some point. You could always go in with the Zacian to take that knockout. That doesn't really feel that bad, because if your opponent were to knock it out, they only take 2 prize cards and would still have 3 remaining. So you will still be keeping pace, especially since you are taking 3 prize cards at once. They would be down to 3 prize cards, you would be down to 2, so you'd still be ahead in that exchange. So we are going to level ball for our Manaphy just to discard it with a refinement. Again, you always want to make sure that you thin any dead cards out of your deck as possible and discard them if you can. We are going to discard an Iono as well, probably because we plan on having a prize lead here, as well as the fact that there are another couple in hand as well. It's fine to discard one. And the later you get into the game, the worse Iono gets for yourself. So if you already have 3 in hand, it looks like, might as well discard one of them. So we got 3, 4 Psychic Energy in the discard pile right now. Not enough to attack with Zacian quite yet. Almost puts the Gardevoir into the discard pile on accident. That would have been really bad. It looks like we do get an Artisan. I would like to save that for the turn that we get pathed, though. And we do have a Boss's Orders, which is up in the hand there. We also have the Ralts we have to bench, so don't even need to get that Artisan in play to do it. And we are going to take the knockout on the Genesect V now. I do like to see that just because the Zacian isn't able to be powered up quite enough. And we do go for the attack with the Gardevoir EX, so still has plenty of HP, will not be able to be knocked out by a Techno Blast here. Even with that Choice Belt, the Choice Belt does not work on Pokemon EX, it only works against Pokemon GX and Pokemon V. So we are going to take the 190 knockout here on the Genesect, removing the only way for this player to draw cards as well as, well, without playing a supporter, I suppose. He could always Iono or Judge. But it also is the only Fusion Strike energy he plays. So again, because he's choosing not to play the entire Fusion Strike package, he is now out of the ability to play Genesect. So we are going to use the Collapse Stadium here. That's fine. You'd rather see that than Path to the Peak any day of the week here. And it is just going to discard the Mew from play and feel perfectly fine. Although, here is a Boss's Orders to knock out the Kirlia with yet another Max Miracle being copied from the Cross Fusion Strike. So, now we have a decision. Do we want to attack with the Gardevoir EX again? We could always maybe Boss's Orders the next Genesect or the Mew V that's in play and take another 2 prizes, but then we would still need 1 more knockout. So we really need to be able to go through the Mew VMAX this turn in order for that to really be a thing. So we're going to have to try to find Zacian V. It looks like maybe it's prize because I don't see a Zacian V in his deck right now. Otherwise, maybe it's in his hand. But he is going to go for the Radiant Greninja. If it is in his hand, this does allow him to discard yet another energy. And he can always discard 2 energies off of his... oh no, it is in his hand. The Zacian's in his hand. It will always allow him to discard 1 more Psychic Energy into the discard pile so that we have the ability to attack with the Genesect. The Gardevoir can retreat 2 energies off of it, so 1 will be stuck there, unfortunately. We do have, it looks like, 3 in the discard pile right now, plus the 1 in hand, plus the 2 from the Gardevoir EX, will be a total of 6. And we do need, I believe, 9 energy? Yes, 9 energy in order to take the one-shot on the Mew VMAX. So will we see that? We get the Shining Arcana, but that's not going to do it. We don't have the Zacian V in play yet. If we did, that would have been 1 more energy attachment to that. Now you need to find a way to discard that. But it looks like we do have Ultra Ball, as well as another Fog Crystal. If there was only another way to discard an energy, we could actually get there. So yeah, if you were able to bench, yeah, if he benched the Zacian there, he could have used that Psychic, the Shining Arcana to put that 1 energy on there. Then he could have discarded 2 more with that Ultra Ball. So that would put him at 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, he would be there. So it's just going to be that little short. But we do have another turn to play with. Our opponent is still at 4 prize cards remaining. And again, they cannot one-shot this Gardevoir EX. So we could attack with the Kirlia and heal some damage off of our own Pokemon. But we're doing the more disciplined play of actually attacking with the Gardevoir EX a second time. And just putting some damage counters on this Mew VMAX. Now our opponent is going to be forced to find a double turbo so that he can retreat the active. Otherwise, we are going to be able to take the last prizes of the game without having to get the Zacian set up. So the scary thing will be the Iono. It would put the Zacian back into the deck and onto the bottom of as well. I don't believe we use that second Ultra Ball either to get rid of those other energies. And we even get Echoing Horned. Oh, yeah, that's rough. So now there is no room in play for that. And we do go... Oh, no, we do have enough to take... Oh, no, we don't. We Psychic Leap. All right, so we go Power Tablet, Psychic Leap. I love this. This is a very good play here. So now he can put up one of his other Pokemon that he would much rather have knocked out, like the Drapion. And he will still have to find that Mew again. This is just buying him time, realistically. So if we see a collapsed stadium of our own and then a way to discard it, if we had Lost Vacuum, we would be able to put the Zacian into play this turn. But this deck usually doesn't play Lost Vacuum, so I'm not expecting to see that here. So might as well just keep using our concealed cards to thin our hand out a bit. Super Rod, put in some Pokemon pieces here. We're going to go for a Kirlia and a Shining Arcana Gardevoir that we can use in conjunction with that Ralts we have on the bench. And the other cool thing is, since he did knock out that Oricorio early, that took the ability of using Glistening Droplets out of play for the opponent as well. So say we were attacking with a Shining Arcana Gardevoir, we had a bunch of energy on it, we were only a few damage counters away from being knocked out. They could actually get Glistening Droplets for the knockout on the active and then start spreading to the bench as well. They could have easily two-shot the Spiritomb on the bench with that attack as well. So cleverly identifying that that was a threat early, taking a first prize on that. And this is getting set up very well. So we do have a Shining Arcana. We are able to set up here, and we are going to be able to load it up with some energy cards. That will mean that those energies, again, can't go to a Zacian, but this is still perfectly fine. We're going to be able to go down to 1 prize card remaining. We're just a boss's orders away from being able to win the game. Or, again, if the Mew VMAX comes up and we get knocked out as the Gardevoir, we could always just put the Zacian in play, one-shot the Mew, and actually have taken 8 prizes to win the game, styling on our opponent. It's like back in the 90s when you would just do an ollie kickflip type thing, like over people. And of course, Mew doesn't draw what they need, and then we see the boss's orders bringing up the Genesect and just taking the knockout with the active. But again, even if they were able to knock out that Gardevoir, we still would have seen the Zacian play come out as well because he had everything he needed in hand. The Mew would have had to go Double Turbo and Iono at the same time in order to have a chance in the game. But that was crazy to see. That was a good match. You could definitely see the skill from both players. It's just, again, unfortunate. The Spiritomb did put in a lot of work against the Mew, even against the Double Turbo energy, so maybe we should be considering Sableye for NAIC. So always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Again, feed that YouTube algorithm. It is very important. And we will see you guys next round for the finals, I believe we are at. Yep, there's only one section of it left. So we will see you guys then.